Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hello.
Stanley here. Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Okay. Can you please hold on? I'm expecting some more people to join.
Okay, sir.
Okay. We'll begin shortly. 5 minutes maybe.
Sure. Yeah.
Of experience in IT as systems admin. So I specialize in Windows Server administration, Active Directory domain services, SCCM, Azure, and Intune. Okay. So I have experience both in implementation as well as support projects. Worked for companies like HSBC and Wipro in the past. Currently dealing with trainings at FLFT. Okay, so shall we begin?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so what we'll try to do is let's get to understand what is this product all about, SCCM, or the new name as we call it, MECM. So just try to understand, in order to become an SCCM admin, what is that we need to learn exactly, and how do we become one so that we can work for a IT company as a SCCM admin at L2 or L3, whatever your requirement is. Fine. Okay, can you all see my screen? Yes.
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay. So SCCM, or you call it as MECM, so or SMS. So SMS, when it started, almost 25 years back, that was the initial name it was given when it was started in 1994. Systems Management Server. Then in 2007, they changed it to SCCM, System Center Configuration Manager. Okay, and recently, since 2018 or 19, again rebranding has happened, a name change. Okay, now it's a part of a Microsoft product suite called Endpoint Manager. So now we call it MECM, Microsoft Endpoint Configuration Manager. So all are the names of the same product, something old, something new. So here you call it as SCCM or MECM, anything is fine. Okay, as long as you know what you are referring to. So this is a Microsoft application. Okay, so we need to understand what is the purpose, why it is used by companies, and how it helps IT administrators to manage their infrastructure. Okay, so if I have to define this product, so I can simply call it as a software management suite. Okay, a package, a complete package, end to end. So for IT companies, software management is a key task. Okay, so on a daily basis, you have to manage your software. So this software includes, at the outset, your operating system, then various applications that you use, updates for your operating systems as well as applications, etc. Okay, so all this is the content that we manage through SCCM. So a software management suite which handles couple of things. So one is change and the other one is configuration. Okay, so change and configuration management for IT infrastructure. So when we say IT infrastructure, so what are we referring to? So let's say you work for a company that has about 50,000 computers. Okay, some are servers, some are desktops, end user desktops. All these machines have hardware. Okay, they have operating system, they have software as well. Okay, software in the form of various applications like your MS Office, Adobe products, and for business purpose, whatever applications you need to use. All this software has to be managed by admins, IT admins. Okay. So, for example, which device has what hardware, what operating system, what applications, etc. So that includes the configuration of device, constitutes the configuration of the device, hardware inventory and software inventory. And from time to time, we do upgrades on these devices. Okay, maybe I upgrade operating system from one version to another version. I upgrade software applications also from one version to another version. And also, we install patches. Monthly, every second Tuesday of the month, Microsoft releases updates for all its products. It's called Patch Tuesday. So that is when we are applying change to our existing environment. So this is what we are going to handle throughout as SCCM admins. Change and configuration management for IT infrastructure. So your organization network has, you know, devices and users who log in from these devices. Okay, so that is what we can manage through SCCM. So let's understand this a bit deep. Let's go and further venture into the concepts here. So in order to become an SCCM admin, you will need to understand the functionality of SCCM. Okay, whether you work at L2 or L3 levels, or whether it is an implementation or a support project. So we have the core functions first of all. So under core functions, we have asset management. Then we have remote control of the devices. Then we have software metering. Okay, and we have collections. Okay, SCCM collections. We have two types again: user collections and device collections. So this is the first core function, asset management. So under this, we have remote control, software metering, collections management, and of course, most important is your inventory. Okay, so that includes both hardware and software inventory. So I'll pick up one particular topic from each core function, and just to give you some basic idea, what we do is, so what does this hardware and software inventory mean? Okay, so this is absolutely critical for SCCM environment. So just like I mentioned, so if you have an organization where you have computers, fine. So where you have hundreds of thousands of computers. So SCCM can manage both servers as well as what do you say, desktops. Okay, that is the advantage. It can be a server system, or it can be an end user desktop or a laptop. Anything is fine. Okay, so now let's say my company has a total of 50,000 systems. Okay, about 5,000 servers, and the remaining machines, about 45,000 laptops and desktops, the end user machines the employees use. They log in from these devices. Now, these are spread across my company network, which spans across multiple locations globally. Okay. So, as far as they have network connectivity, that is fine. Now, I have to manage inventory. So what we can do through SCCM is, so we can gather the configuration information of all these computers, whatever hardware is installed on them, whatever software is installed on them, including operating system applications and anything at all. So all this information can be gathered, okay, in a particular format, and then you can store it in the backend in the form of a database. So precisely a SQL database. So for HCM setup, backend SQL Server is mandatory with a SQL database. Fine. So this is where we store all this inventory information. So hardware and software configuration. Why is it mandatory? Okay, because without this configuration information, we cannot manage our systems. As simple as that. Okay, so this is what we have to do, right? Change management and configuration management. So as part of configuration, so we have to gather this inventory, and this is not a one time process. We'll have to keep doing it from time to time. For example, in real time scenario, we do it at least monthly once. Okay, so frequency is something we can control depending upon our requirement. Because why do we have to do it frequently is simply put, there will be change in the environment. So what configuration you have today may not be different. Say for example, today I have 4 GB RAM on a desktop. Tomorrow I have upgraded it to 8 GB RAM. So that information needs to get updated, right? Or until recently we have been using Windows 10. Now my company is willing to upgrade a bunch of machines to Windows 11. So that information also needs to get updated. Or I have installed latest patches on some machines. So that information needs to get updated. Okay. So consistently change will occur. Constantly it will occur in production environment. And accordingly, you'll have to make sure you have the latest configuration information available. Okay. So this is where inventory becomes key to do all the things in SCCM. And because it is a huge environment, so I have like 50,000 systems whose information I have to maintain. So I will need a database in the backend. So with SCCM license, you will get one SQL Server license for free. Of course, for testing or piloting or for learning purpose, we do get trial version for 6 months. Okay, the trial version of both SCCM and the backend SQL database. Okay, so that is how we can do implementation and get hands-on on all the functions of SCCM. So inventory becomes absolutely mandatory. Now we have remote control. So SCCM absolutely provides three different methods in which we can remotely control our devices. Okay, so let's say client troubleshoot. So we run some tasks as administrators. So sometimes 90% of the time the tasks will go through, but on some machines we do come across with problems. So that is when you may have to take the remote control of that computer and then do your troubleshoot. Okay, so that is where remote control helps. There is something called software metering. So we can meter and monitor software usage. Okay, so let's say for example, I have deployed a particular software. Okay, Adobe Reader version so and so. Okay, so let's say version 11.0 for about 500 computers in a particular department in my company. So company wants to monitor the usage of this software. So how many machines, there is active usage, how many machines there is, partial usage, and how many machines there is no usage at all, because this will help in saving licensing cost. So you have installed Adobe Reader, but on some machines it is not being used at all. Maybe the users who log in from those machines, they don't use it at all because that is not required for their business purpose. Okay. So in such cases, I need to identify such machines and you know revoke licenses so that I can save on the license cost. So software metering is one such aspect which will help you to meter and monitor software usage and help you to save a lot of license cost. Okay. But now there is one more aspect of asset management. So we have the concept of collections, user and device collections. So we can compare it to your on-premise or your Active Directory concept, where we have groups and organizational units. Okay, so what happens in SCCM is we define various policies. Now let's take this example itself. Now here I had to deploy Adobe Reader for about 500 computers, right? So this is a common task for about 500 objects. Now instead of doing it one by one, obviously that is not I'm going to do. So SCCM is about automation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a logical container and place all these 500 computers in this container. Except in SCCM, we call it not a container but a collection. So this is machines. So I'll place them in this logical collection. Okay. So then to this collection, I'm going to deploy this particular software. So all the members of this collection now, they will receive this policy and they will download and install this particular software. Or if I want it to be user based, no problem. So I'll identify all the 500 users who need this Adobe Reader software, put them in this collection. So this will be a user collection. Then I can deploy the policy to this particular collection. Okay, so device based or user based. Anything is fine based upon your requirement. So it's a common task. Now sometimes the task can vary from user to user or machine to machine. So accordingly, you will have to identify and group them or segregate them and define your SCCM policies and deploy them. So collections also happen to be the base unit at which you will define a policy, SCCM policy, and deploy it. So in the sense, I cannot deploy a SCCM policy directly at a user level or a device level. Okay, so I have to put all my concerned targets into a collection first of all, and then to this collection I will have to deploy the policy. Okay, so it may be 100 users or 1000 users depending upon your requirement. So collection is the basic unit at which you can deploy a SCCM policy. You cannot directly do it at user level or device level. Sometimes if you're doing some testing or piloting, so I want to just test on a single user or a single device. So how will I achieve this or accomplish this task? Not a problem. So even if you want to test on a single user or a single device, let's say I have some policy I want to test. So you can place that single user or single device in a collection, and then you can deploy the policy. So this is how collection is the basic unit at which you can apply a SCCM policy. So every task you have to execute as an administrator will need a SCCM policy to be configured and then deployed. So whether you are doing software distribution or operating system deployment or patching, okay, or antivirus management, any task at all, you have to first create and configure a policy and then deploy the policy to the target collections. And that collections will contain users or the target devices. Okay. So this is the first core function, which is your asset management. So this is what we do under asset management. So remote control, software metering, collections management, and inventory, hardware and software inventory. Okay. Now let's get to the second core function. So this is software deployment, the most important chapter in your SCCM curriculum. So under software deployment, we are going to learn software distribution in two different methods. So we have an old method, which is the package method, and we have a new method, which is application method. So we will see how to do the package deployment, and we'll see how to do application deployment. We'll try to understand the differences. Okay. So you will have lot of end user devices to manage, desktops and laptops of the end users. So these desktops and laptops, they need lot of softwares, for business purpose. Like say for example, MS Office, Adobe products, or other products that your company uses. And not just deployment, you'll have to make sure that these software applications get their updates regularly, okay, from time to time. So all this we can manage through SCCM, software distribution. So create packages and then deploy to target users and devices by placing them in respective collections. Or we have a new and advanced method which has been introduced from SCCM 2012 called application management. So this will be rather user centric. The package is just machine based, very simple and short and sweet method, but application can handle complex situations where you have to make the software deployment user centric and you want to use some advanced features. So that is when we'll understand the differences between package method and application method, and understand when to use which method. Okay. So if it is machine centric, you can go ahead and deploying package method. But if it is application, I mean user centric, and you want to use some advanced features, we have something called requirement rules and global conditions. So if you want to ingest these advanced features and make it a user centric software deployment, then we can use the application method. Okay. Now the second chapter in software deployment will be your updates, commonly called patching, Windows patching. So most likely you will come across Windows machines in most of the SCCM projects. So they can be servers as well as desktops like Windows 10 and 11. So what happens is Microsoft releases patches for all its products every second Tuesday of the month. So this is called Patch Tuesday. So you will have to identify all the patches that you need from the list of patches given, and then you'll have to deploy these patches to your target machines. Okay, server patches will be different, desktop operating system patches will be different. So you will have to download all these and segregate them based on product version and other classifications you'll have to do, and make sure all the latest patches are installed on your target computers. Okay, so this is a monthly recurring task. Every month you have to do this, and it is important, okay, because you'll have to keep your machines up to date. Fine. Otherwise, there will be a lot of security vulnerabilities, and your machines can be prone to attacks. Because it is being recommended by your vendor, Microsoft, it becomes important to install the patches from time to time. There's a third topic in your, the third chapter in software deployment is your OSD, operating system deployment. So from the basic level, from scratch, when you are building your infrastructure. So let's say if I have to install operating system on a single computer, it will take at least 15 to 30 minutes. Now imagine you'll have to do it for 50 machines. So even if you are sparing 15 minutes per machine, so that is that many minutes. But in production scenario, you may be building a large infrastructure. Okay, so you can't obviously do all this manually. So I have to deploy about 5,000 desktops and hand it over to production within a span of say 3 months. So I cannot do it machine by machine or manually. So you'll have to automate your process. So SCCM OSD will help us to do that. So we can do different methods of OSD like bare metal. So when you buy new hardware and you want to deploy everything from scratch, so install the target operating system along with the applications that are needed on these machines, and then do your OSD. Or on existing machines, you can do OS upgrade. So let's say I have a bunch of Windows 10 machines. Now my company wants to upgrade to 11. Yeah, we can do that through ACCM. Okay. Or we can do OS refresh, or commonly called reimaging. Okay. Sometimes what happens is an existing machine. Okay. So it's a Windows 10 machine. It got corrupted. Okay, so there is a boot file corruption or system file corruption, or maybe antivirus, I mean virus infection, etc. So what I can do is, or the end user raises a ticket saying the machine's performance is slow. So you identify that there are some corruption issues here, critical file corruption. So what you can do is you can reinstall the same operating system. You are not changing the version or upgrading it. So you are just reinstalling the same operating system. So it's called OS refresh. And we have one more method, capture image deployments. So what happens here is when you are deploying on a large scale, let's say I am deploying about 500 desktops and I have to hand it over to a specific department. Okay, there is sales department in my company. So for the sales department, I'm building this 500 machines and hand over to them. So all the 500 machines need identical configuration. So hardware configuration will be same and software configuration will be same. So in such case, what happens is we use this capture image technique. So we will build one machine first to ensure everything goes right. Okay. So deploy the target hardware, deploy the target software and applications, build one machine first, and then what you do is capture the image of this machine. So simply put, we take snapshot of the hard disks. Okay, the computer may contain one or more hard disks. So we are going to capture the image of this hard disk, a snapshot. Okay, so real-time snapshot of this computer's hard disk. Then upload this image into your distribution point, and then you can deploy to all these target computers at the same time. So within a short span of time with least administrative effort and automation. So you can deploy as many computers as possible with identical hardware and software configuration. Okay, so most likely this is how large scale deployments happen in real time. Okay, now there is another department. This is a IT department. So there we have about 100 computers to deploy, but that configuration is different from this configuration. So same thing again, I can create another image and use that image to deploy these 100 computers. Okay, so depending upon hardware and various other aspects, you will have to create these images and use them as templates so that you can reproduce or redeploy computers based on this image, based on the configuration. So all this we will come across in the software deployment chapter. Pretty much important for especially people who work in support projects. 70 to 80% of your day-to-day tasks will be related to this particular chapter. Okay, so the biggest and the most important chapter in your entire SCCM curriculum. And the last topic in this software deployment core function, core functionality is content management. Okay, so all this deployment I was talking about handles content. Okay, it requires content, software applications. So in the form of MSI or exe files. If it is updates, they'll be in .gap format. If it is images, they'll be in .win format, Windows image management, etc. So we'll be deploying a lot of content to our target machines through SCCM. So that will be in particular format. So SCCM will allow particular formats like MSI, exe, .gap, Vim, etc. So you'll have to manage your content. Okay, so you should have a central location, a master copy rather, of all the content so that you can deploy it whenever and wherever necessary. So you need to store a master copy of the content. You need to validate from time to time that the master copy is not corrupt and make sure it is valid for deployment. And once everything is fine, you just go ahead and deploy it to your target machines. Fine. So this is all about content management. So this is where for the end user experience, we will come across software center and app catalog, application catalog. We can also see the end user experience. So when we deploy a policy that includes software distribution. So sometimes we want it to be available for end user. We give a notification and make it optional for the end user. So the end user can log into their software center or application catalog and see what applications are available to them. And if they are allowed to, they can go ahead, download and install. Like, your App Store on your Apple device, or Play Store on your Google Android device, for example. So that is where from you can download and install. So similarly, for your organization, you can create your own uh, store, okay, from where users are allowed to download and install various applications. So all this we will come across in the software deployment chapter. Fine. So that is your second core functionality. Now the third core functionality is security in SCCM. So here we'll come across two topics: role-based administration, where we delegate control to various administrators. Okay. So typically what happens is, in a SCCM project, you'll have one or more administrators, and based on your scope and your role, control will be delegated, because everybody will not get full control. Okay. So only if you are a SME, or L4 admin, or architect, or subject matter expert, etc., you'll have full control. Let's say you are at L1, L2, or L3 with specific role and scope in the project. So you are bound to execute only some specific tasks, not everything. So I have a resource separately for OSD. I have a resource separately for patching, and I have a resource separate for software distribution and asset management. So when they log into the SCCM console, I just want them to see what is under their scope, and I just want them to execute only those tasks which they are allowed. Anything else should be out of the display for them in the console, or right click should be disabled, so that they don't do anything accidentally or intentionally also. So not everybody gets full control until and unless you are a senior admin. So everybody has to be delegated control. Okay. So based on your role and your scope, you will be given RBA, role-based administration. So when an admin with full control connects to the SCCM console, they can read write on everything. So they can see all items in the console. They can create, edit, delete. They can do everything. But when an RBA admin connects to the SCCM console, they will see only those items which they are allowed to. So based on their role and scope, and they'll be allowed to execute only those tasks which falls under their role and their scope. So that is your RBA, role-based administration. The second topic in SCCM security will be your endpoint protection, EPP. So this is your antivirus solution. Just like you have so many third party like Symantec, Norton, etc. Microsoft also has its own antivirus solution. So it's called SCEP, System Center Endpoint Protection. So you get a trial version for 6 months. Then if you like the product, you can buy license from Microsoft and install it on your SCCM clients and protect them from internet threats like spyware, malware, etc. So of course Microsoft does not enforce you to use their product, but this is available. So what I can do is, if I have a bunch of SCCM clients, so I need antivirus, obviously, because say my clients need to connect to internet directly or through proxy settings, whatever. So when they connect to internet, they are prone to these internet threats. So I have to protect through a antivirus solution. So I can integrate this Microsoft Endpoint Protection with my SCCM, and then deploy it to my target SCCM clients and manage this antivirus software on bulk machines through SCCM console itself. So I don't have to go to each and every machine and install it manually and download updates from time to time manually and do things. Everything can be automated through SCCM console. So that is about security. Now the last core function is compliance. Okay, so every company will have certain IT rules and regulations. Fine. So in your SCCM environment, you'll have your users and devices. So company says every user and every device must adhere to certain rules and regulations. Fine. So what as SCCM admin I can do is I can configure these rules and regulations. So we have a CI and CP. Okay. So configuration items and configuration baselines. Okay, let me give you a simple example. So my company says if it is a desktop in production, it should have minimum 8 GB RAM. Okay, so that is a compliance requirement. Anything less than 8 GB will be considered non-compliant. Or if it is a server in production, my company says it should have minimum 32 GB RAM. Okay, anything less than that will be considered non-compliant for production. Okay, it may be used in testing or piloting, but not in production. So what I can do is I can create a rule for this. So greater than or equal to 8 GB if it is desktop. Or for servers, I can create a rule saying greater than or equal to 32 GB, then it will be considered compliant. Less than 32 GB, it will be considered non-compliant. Similarly, for desktops, if it is greater than or equal to, if it is greater than or equal to 8 GB, I will consider it compliant. If it is less than 8 GB, it will show up as non-compliant. So this is one example. Okay. Uh, let's say if it is software based. So company says operating system version should be Windows 10 latest. Okay, so we have a latest update called 21H2. Fine. Or if it is Windows 11 with the latest update, then only it will consider it compliant. Otherwise, it will be considered non-compliant. So through compliance in SCCM, so we can create these configuration items. So the configuration item is the rule that you create. So for example, 8 GB RAM for desktops. So that's a rule. Or 32 GB RAM for server. So that's a rule. Now you will create that rule and then you will set up that as the baseline. Okay. So for desktops, 8 GB as the baseline. And if it is say servers, then it will be 32 GB as the baseline. So for servers, I'll have to create a separate baseline as 32 GB, and for desktops, I'll have to create another baseline as 8 GB, and then deploy this baseline to target companies. For desktops, you put all the desktops in a collection and to deploy to that collection. Servers, you have a separate baseline, so put all the servers in a separate collection and deploy this baseline to the servers. And you wait for the report to be pulled up. So that report will clearly tell you how many machines are compliant in this case. Okay, so desktops. So let's say we have total 5,000 desktops. So how many of those are 8 GB or how many are less than 8 GB? or you have like say 1,000 servers. So how many servers are equal to or greater than 32 GB and how many are less than 32 GB. So you can pull up reports and submit to your concerned authorities. Then they will take a decision. If anything is non-compliant, then remediation has to happen. So maybe RAM upgrade is what you need to do. Okay. So compliance will help you to configure these IT rules and regulations and enforce them on your SCCM users and devices. So all these four are the core functionalities. So first I've talked about asset management, then deployment, the third one is security, and then the fourth one is compliance. Okay. Now every SCCM administrator will be also responsible for a couple of support functions. So as part of day-to-day tasks in your SCCM project, so there are a couple of support functions you'll have to take care of. So monitoring, very important. Okay. And then you have reporting. So let me talk about monitoring first. So to ensure that you have a healthy SCCM setup, so monitoring becomes key. So because you'll have to, run your SCCM setup in a 24/7 environment. So you'll have like 99.99% SLA, okay, the agreement, service level agreement with your company or with your client. So you'll have to make sure that SCCM is up for the maximum time. So even in the event of any maintenance or disaster, so you should have a BCP, business continuity plan, okay, or a DR plan, disaster recovery plan. If you're doing some maintenance, so how will you avoid downtime? So you should have a backup plan. And if something goes wrong, suddenly your front end crashes, SCCM server crashes, or the back end crashes, SQL Server, or both crash at the same time. This can happen, right? So what is your backup plan? So in the event of a disaster, how soon can you get back online with all your SCCM services? So you should have a plan for this. So we will try to, do a lot of things to avoid this in the first place. Okay, prevention is better than cure. So how can prevention happen is by a good monitoring system. So you'll have to frequently monitor your site status, SCCM component status, okay, client health, and so many other things. So this is where SCCM monitoring comes into picture. SCCM has a built-in monitoring system. You don't need a third-party tool or an external tool. So it has its own inbuilt monitoring system where it is capable of generating alerts in the form of simple information or warnings, or show them if they are something is critical, then in the form of errors. If you go on to your monitoring wizard, so you can pull up just like your Windows event viewer. Okay, so whatever happens on a Windows machine, you can see in the event viewer, right? So similarly, all things that are happening in SCCM, okay, on the client side, on the server side, okay, everything will be logged, which you can see as information or as warning. And if it is error, so something went wrong, okay, and this can be a potential service stopper. So you'll have to identify the problem and do your troubleshoot. So log files play a very important role in this monitoring and troubleshooting section. So if you want to become a very good SCCM administrator, so understand this monitoring system of SCCM end to end, and get yourself well acquainted with the log file concept. So every task that is executed on the server side or on the client side SCCM generates a log file, and Microsoft gives a tool called CM Trace. It comes by default with your SCCM software. So you can just install this CM Trace tool and use it to read your log files in detail, step by step. So let's say I deploy a particular software to a target collection. Okay, so in the collection, I have about 500 machines. So how many machines it succeeded, how many machines it's pending, how many machines it's failed, all this I can monitor from the console. But how about failed machines? So identify some failed machines. Out of those 500, let's say on 20 machines it failed. So how will I come to know? Is through monitoring system and through log files. And then on the failed machines, maybe I'll take remote control and then verify their logs locally and identify the issue and then redeploy and make sure that the software gets deployed properly. So all this will happen through your monitoring concepts. Okay. So SCCM has the inbuilt monitoring system, focus on the in-console monitoring, we call it. So it is capable of generating alerts. You don't have to specify anything. This is a built-in or a default setting. You just need to use it to your convenience so that you can have a healthy 24 by 7 SCCM infrastructure. Okay. And of course, there is log file concept. So you can pull up logs for in-depth verbose information for troubleshooting. So that is your first support function. And the second support function is your reporting. So as SCCM admins, we will have to do a lot of reporting on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, and quarterly basis also. So we execute a lot of tasks as admins. So every task or some specific tasks maybe we need to generate reports and share it with the concerned people like your team lead or the project lead, delivery manager, vendor manager, client side you will have some authorities. So they need service delivery reports, etc. So SCCM, because it uses SQL database in the backend, so we can use this inbuilt service called SSRS, the SQL Server Reporting Services. So you don't need again a third party tool here. So because you already have SQL database here in place, so what happens is, so I have my SCCM in the front end. Let's say this is my SCCM server with the console, and this is somewhere in the back end. We have a SQL server with the database. Now in this database, you have all the information. So this SCCM console can talk to this backend SQL database. So in real time, you will not even have access because normally all SCCM admins will not be SQL administrators as well. Okay, but if you are a senior resource and if you have some basic idea, maybe they'll give you read access at least, but even that is not necessary. So the CM console automatically will connect to this backend database and it can pull up all the data and display it in the SCCM console for you. Okay, so because the console is your front end, the database is your backend. You don't have to even connect to the backend directly. Everything I can pull through SCCM console itself. So similarly, even for reports also, I don't have to connect to the backend. So, but the data is in the backend. That is important. You need not connect to the backend directly, but you need access to the data. So SCCM gives you a lot of built-in reports, okay, and you can generate custom reports also if required. So pull up these reports whenever you want, wherever you want, and then share it with the concerned teams. Okay, so for various tasks we do on a daily basis, this reporting has to be done. So this will be SQL based report format, but you don't have to worry because everything is pre-configured and predefined. All you need is access to the SCCM console and go to the reporting mode, and there will be almost 400 plus built-in reports. Okay, so they'll take care of almost 90 to 95% of reporting that we do. Sometimes maybe you will have to generate a custom report. So that is when you will need to connect to backend database and generate some SQL queries. So we'll see how to do this. So because see, a built-in report is not able to pull data that I'm looking for. So I'm looking for some custom data, and a built-in report is unable to do that for me. So that is when I will have to do a custom report. So connect to the backend SQL database. So generate a custom query which can pull the data that I am looking for, and then create a report out of it. Okay. So though this is SQL based reporting, it's called SSRS, the SQL Server Report Services based reporting. What I can do is, for the benefit of others, not everybody understands SQL query, right? So you can export that into user friendly formats. Okay. Uh, like, you know, Word, Excel, okay, or PDF or XML, etc. So there are about 6, 7 various formats. So I can connect, if I'm an administrator, I'll be allowed to connect to SCCM console and select a particular report and run it from the console itself. Fine. But how about others? People like managers, team lead, my project manager, my delivery manager, there is a vendor manager or somebody at the client side, etc. So I have to share these reports with these people also. Okay, they are not involved in any technical work. They are just people managers, so they may not understand SSRS format of reporting. So what you can do is you can export into user-friendly formats like this. Everybody uses MS Office, right? So it's very common with uh, users. So you can, for their purpose, for their benefit, you can export into common formats like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, or PDF, XML, etc., and then share it through email. Okay, or in SCCM we have other formats. So you can dump them in a network share, a shared folder, for example, and they can access that shared folder in the network and get those reports. Or you can, create email subscriptions through SCCM, and emails can be sent to all these concerned people. And in those emails, you can attach in these formats like a Word, Excel, PDF, XML, etc. So this is part of your report. Okay. So now these two are your support functions. So monitoring and reporting. So everybody in an SCCM project as an admin, whether you are at L1, L2, L3, SME or architect, whatever. So on a daily basis, you are responsible for these tasks. Okay, a bit of monitoring and reporting everybody has to do. So once you are, fully aware of these 4 core functions. So what are the core functions I have talked about? Asset management, deployment, okay, then security and compliance. Okay, so these are the core functions, and then we have 2 support functions. So that is your monitoring and report. So once you understand all these four core functions and two support functions, then you are eligible to become a SCCM administrator. And based on your experience and skill set, then you can work at L2 level or L3 level as a SCCM administrator. Okay. And down the line, when you have considerable amount of experience, then become an architect in SCCM and also work in implementation projects. Okay, so infrastructure design and implementation also can be done. So that is where you can deploy various SCCM sites, CAS, central administration site, deployment of primary and secondary sites. So it takes time for you to get there, slow and steady. So you can become an architect and start working in implementation projects also. At L2, L3, mostly it will be support projects. So that will include your core functionalities and support functionalities. Okay. So this is how you become a SCCM administrator. So once you have done all these four core functions and the support functions, fine. So coming to the implementation of this curriculum, so what happens is every topic we'll discuss, theory in detail first, followed up by implementation of that particular topic. So I would recommend that each one of you create your own lab environment. So whatever resources you need, I'll give you all the links from where you can download the relevant software. So for example, you will need operating system images, Windows Server and desktop image. So you can download these ISOs from your Microsoft TechNet Evaluation Center. Okay. Then you will need SCCM software. You'll get a 180-day trial version. You can download this again from Microsoft TechNet Evaluation Center itself. You will need SQL Server software also. So this also will come in ISO format. So you can download SQL Server. Okay. So I would recommend SQL Server 2017 or higher. 2016 or higher is also fine. So whatever is latest, we can use it. SCCM software also, whatever is latest, we can download and install it. So we can take this year's update, maybe 2203. So that is year 22, March update. Okay. Uh, I think there was an update in July also, so that is 2207. But we'll have to check. If you go to TechNet Evaluation Center, so what is the version it is giving you? So let's say this is the link from where you can download all your softwares. Fine. So Microsoft gives you fully featured evaluations for everything. So you can download and install whatever you want. So go to System Center 2022 and look for Configuration Manager. Okay. So you don't need all these products. So these are other products in the suite. Okay. Ops Manager, Orchestrator, Virtual Machine Manager, etc. So we don't want all that. We just want System Center Configuration Manager. And coming to SQL Server, see, you have 2019, 2022 is in preview. So don't use it yet for production. Preview is where it is being tested, even by Microsoft. Okay. So yeah, we can use 2019 or 2017. Coming to Windows Server, 2022 or 2019, we can use. And coming to desktops, we can download Windows 10 or Windows 11, for example. both can be SCCM variants. So download the enterprise ISO. Okay. So, and there are some other tools also that we need to download. So I'll give you the links to download all these softwares and create your lab setup to get all the hands. Okay. Implementation is important. Learning the theory is not sufficient enough. So each one of you, if you have at least 8 GB or 12 GB RAM machine, so use VMware Workstation or uh, Hyper-V or Oracle VirtualBox, etc., and create at least 3 machines. Okay, a couple of servers and one desktop, at least Windows 10 or 11. So the first machine will be your Active Directory domain controller. The second machine is where we will install SCCM and Sql. Okay, and then one machine is where we will install a Windows 10 or 11 operating system, make it a client, so that we can see the end user experience also. Create a Windows domain environment and set up all this from scratch. Build AD environment, then set up SCCM with SQL and install all the specific roles in SCCM, and then install at least one client machine and then join it to SCCM site and then manage this infrastructure. Then we can test all the functionalities. Okay, so asset management, deployment, security, compliance, and the two support functions, monitoring and report. So build your own lab so that you can get hands-on. So all the documents, all the resources, all the softwares and other tools that are needed will be provided. Okay, you just follow along when I discuss a topic, and then once I show you the implementation, so you can just follow along and do the implementation. Okay, getting the hands-on is important. So only difference compared to real time will be the size of the infrastructure. Okay, so maybe in real time tomorrow you will see a bigger environment, so like hundreds and thousands of machines. So in this scenario, you'll just have about 3 to 4 machines, at the most 5 or 6 machines, depending upon our requirement. We'll create VMs and then learn all these core functions and the support functions. Okay, fine. Now, one by one, if you have any doubts or queries, please go ahead and clarify. Anybody?
Yeah, sir. This is Kranti.
Tell me, Karan.
Yeah, in the security syllabus, you have said me that we should test endpoint security.
Endpoint protection. Yes.
Correct. Is that like endpoint security is to the whole the hardware or only that OS, like
No,
internet
no. What?
regarding?
Yeah. See, endpoint protection is a generic name for any antivirus software. Okay.
Okay, so through software we can block any like hardware parts like connected USBs or any like that. We can
So,
uh, we can restrict this ports like on the client devices.
no, no. That is what you need a firewall, right? So if you want to
Okay,
do port blocking and all that thing, then you need a hardware or a software firewall.
okay,
That's a different aspect. So endpoint protection I am referring to here is a antivirus software.
okay. Only the software. Okay,
Yeah, only the software part. Okay, so this is not a firewall. So firewall is again different. So companies use hardware firewalls or software firewalls for port blocking and all. So that will be managed by network team, right?
okay.
So
Uh,
SCCM administrators are not responsible for it.
okay. There is another question. Like, see,
Yeah.
you have said me that we have like we can deploy around 500 systems at a time.
I'm just
And
taking a number for example.
no,
That's all.
yeah, yeah, I know, yeah, correct, correct. Number. Suppose just while monitoring, we find that in the 500 system, like in a 500 system, one laptop or a laptop or a desktop has corrupted. Is that
Yeah.
we get that a single alarm stating that this
Yes, yes,
desktop is
that is what monitoring is all about, right?
okay,
So
okay,
in console monitoring. So let's say I have deployed it to 500 machines. So from console itself, I can monitor that. So SCCM console can show me that. So which machine it has failed. If I go to the monitoring
uh-huh.
workspace, so I can see that how many machines have passed, how many machines are in pending, how many machines are failed. I can pull up that data. So I
Okay,
can clearly identify the failed machines and then remotely control them and do the troubleshoot. Yes, that is
okay,
possible. So it doesn't mean that I will go to each and every machine and check. No. Okay. So
correct, correct,
in SCCM has its inbuilt monitoring system for that purpose.
okay.
So imagine if you have like 10,000 machines,
Mm-hmm.
so you can't go to each and every machine and check everything, right? Manually.
Correct, correct,
So SCCM is all about automation.
right,
Okay, so you don't do it
yeah,
that way. So monitoring from console will help you to identify that.
yes, yes,
And when you have to,
and
share this same information with others, that is when we'll pull up report.
okay.
Yeah.
So, but there's another question. Like, see, in the 500 system, we can't able to like connect to this particular like a particular asset or like a particular laptop or desktop because
No.
suppose suddenly the desktop is gone from the domain,
Huh.
so we unable to retrieve the signal or retrieve the we cannot connect to this like we can't ping to that system. So
Yeah.
so we can't do like through deployment or through SSM we can't connect to that desktop. So is
Hmm.
there any how there is another possible to
See,
connect the
if you are
desktop or
unable
like
to ping, then that's a network issue, right? So maybe
correct,
the
correct,
machine is down, okay,
yes.
because of some hardware issue or there is some maintenance going on, okay. Maybe it is down at this point of time, okay.
So
So
how can we identify that particular desktop? Suppose for some example, it is it is like named as laptop two. So we can
huh,
identify this in the list of 500. Can we
yes.
identify this laptop two is not
Yeah,
detecting?
there
So
are some tools. There are some tools,
uh,
ping tools, So
okay,
I can use a tool and send a ping command for all the machines at a time. Okay.
okay,
So
okay,
if
okay.
some machine does not respond to ping, so there
Huh.
are multiple meanings for that, right? Either there is a network issue at the time, or maybe it has network adapter issue, or
Okay,
complete hardware issue, or maybe network issue itself, or maybe the machine is down. Because see, desktops will not run 24 by 7, right?
correct, right.
Okay, so let's say today you are done for your shift, you log out, you shut it down, for example. So you
Correct.
work in morning shift from 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. So after 4 p.m., you shut down your desktop. Okay, so obviously, if I
Uh-huh.
ping after 4 p.m.,
Okay,
you will not get response from a bunch of desktops.
right, right.
Yes or no? Okay.
Correct.
So this
Uh-huh.
desktop will only again log into the network tomorrow when the employee comes back at 6 a.m. and logs
Correct. Huh,
in.
but
Okay.
I'm looking like it's in the working
Right.
hours. I'm
Yeah.
asking about the
If
working
when
hours only.
working hours, so again, working hours can vary, right? So if you have 24 by 7 environment, so some employees work in morning shift, some work in night shift, some work in
Correct.
swing shift.
Uh-huh.
So at any given point of time, so what I'm trying to tell you is some desktop will be shut down.
Yes,
So
yes.
desktop will never run 24 by 7, obviously. Okay. Servers, on the other hand, that's a different story. They'll run by 24 by 7. So this is where,
So,
we have the concept of a maintenance window.
okay. Huh.
Okay. So whatever SCCM activities we perform, so every IT company will give us a specific set of hours.
Okay.
Okay. So that
Uh-huh.
we will consider as our maintenance window. So we are not worried about machines running 24/7 or whether they work in particular shifts, etc. Because that is not something I control, right?
Okay.
So even if servers we have or desktops which don't run 24/7, so I am concerned only one thing as an SCCM admin about is my maintenance.
Okay.
Okay, so let's say
Sure.
for desktops, company says every Friday between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. IST. Okay, so Indian
Okay.
Standard Time is your maintenance window.
Okay.
Okay, so you are concerned about only those 3 hours. So whatever tasks you are executing as an SCCM admin, you do
Okay.
only between these hours. Okay, for servers,
Okay.
company says every Saturday and Sunday. So between let's say 2 p.m. and 5 p.m. IST will be your maintenance window. So only during this time you will be allowed to execute your SCCM tasks like deployment, patching, upgrades, you know, whatever it is that you want to do. And if any reboots are necessary, do those reboots also and make sure with by 5 p.m. everything is back online. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So maintenance window is critical for us. So this is something
Okay.
I cannot control, which desktop is up at what time, which server is at, down at what time or when it comes back online is something
Uh-huh.
out of my scope as an SCCM admin.
Okay.
Okay. So that is why we will have to, manage through this maintenance window. Clearly,
Yes.
no company will give you whatever time. You can't execute SCCM tasks at your own convenience or your own time. So every collection will have a maintenance window set. So
Okay.
during this time, it is important for me that my target machines are online and then I complete my task. So if any machine is not responding to ping during, let's say desktops, I'm doing some patching activity. So I'll have to do it every Friday between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. So I
Okay.
have about, let's say, 1,000 machines as my target. So out of them, 5 machines are not responding to ping.
Correct. Huh.
So it could mean anything. It could be a network issue or a hardware issue, or maybe the machine is shut down because the employee is not in the shift currently. Okay. So
Huh.
whatever it is, but I will configure SCCM policy in such a way the moment the machine comes back online at the next available time, automatically the policy is going to get enforced. Not a problem.
Correct. I want this answer on because
Yeah,
after
exactly.
shutdown.
Yeah,
Correct.
that
Huh.
is SCCM is going to take care of that. So within the
Okay.
policy, I'm going to deploy settings in such a way
Mm-hmm.
that just because during 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. It is not available, it doesn't skip a policy. Okay, the very
Okay.
next moment it comes back online, SCCM will make sure the policy is enforced.
Okay.
Okay, but before,
Yeah.
if at all it needs a restart, for example, so we will ensure that the user is notified in advance
Correct.
because you don't want to do an instant reboot and disturb the work environment of the end user. So SCCM will make sure that user is notified in advance that a restart may happen on your machine.
He
So
may get
be
a
prepared.
notification
Yeah,
on the desktop.
yeah, it will ensure that there is a notification so that user will be prepared because most of the time when you do patching, a reboot will be necessary.
Correct. Correct.
So you have to make sure SCCM sends the notification so that the end user is prepared for the reboot. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, we can ensure.
Like, sure. Sure.
Okay, so
Okay.
maintenance window becomes critical.
Okay.
So we can't do SCCM things at any time as we please. So every company will give you certain time. Okay, so
Okay, sir.
time interval that you will have to configure as your maintenance window. Okay,
So here main role plays the Active Directory.
so that's a different aspect. Let's not
Okay.
go there because every
Okay.
SCCM admin may or may not be in control of Active Directory also.
Correct. Correct.
Okay,
Okay.
so that's a different aspect altogether. Yeah, for
Okay.
SCCM, ADDS is a dependency agree.
Yeah.
Okay, so because you will need a domain setup anyhow, every
Correct.
real-time scenario will be a domain setup, especially bigger projects like MNCs, you will have domain involved. So very
Correct.
small setups like where you have 20, 30 machines, 40, 50 machines, maybe you can manage as work group machines. But
Correct.
bigger machines like bigger sizes like hundreds, thousands, you can't manage a work group environment. Okay.
Correct.
So everything will be Active Directory domain environment.
Okay.
Now, in an SCCM project, I may not have access to Active Directory.
Okay.
So there will be a separate team, maybe the Windows team, the Active Directory team will manage that.
Okay.
Okay. So
Okay.
if you are in control of Active Directory as well, then definitely most of the things you will have control of.
Correct.
But bigger projects is where delegation happens, right? Role based
Correct.
access.
Correct.
So you'll be responsible only for your role and your scope. Okay, so within
Yeah.
SCCM again also you will be responsible only for certain set of tasks, not everything as it is, until and unless you are a admin at a senior level like SME or architect, or if you are working in an implementation project, then only you will need full control. Otherwise, at L2, L1, even at some L3 level projects also, it's very rare that you get full control.
Correct.
Okay, so it all depends on the role and the scope of
Okay.
the entity in the project. Okay,
Okay. Thank
clear
you.
now?
Yeah.
Okay. So anybody else? Any doubts at all? Rafi, Venkatesh, Kishore.
No, sir.
Okay. So if you have any other queries, you can get in touch with Shankar from FLIT. Okay. So if you're interested, you can contact him for further details and hope to see you soon in a training batch. Okay. Sounds good.
Yes.
Fine. So thank you all. Thank you for your time. Okay. So have a good day, all of you. So hopefully I'll
Thank you,
see
sir.
you soon.
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
No problem. No problem. Okay. So I'm going to end the call now. Good day,
Yes,
all
sir.
of you. Bye.
ರಿಟರ್ನ್ ಪಿಕಪ್ ಕೂಡ ಇದೆ ಸರ್
Hello.
ಔಟ್ ಫಾರ್ ಡೆಲಿವರಿ 5th August to 6th